what's on the other team. Good news is Tim's pretty terrible this game, so that's the truth.
Very proud. They played a very sharp, very on top of their game Eclipse today, and really excelled at nailing, unfortunately, 07. When they gave him that little bit of breathing room, he took it.
Hello everybody, and welcome back to the Community WGLNA show. I'm Tim Hamlet, that's Ted Arundel, and I'm pointing the wrong direction again. You're on this side.
I never know where Tim is, so I just kind of try to cover all my bases here. Hello everyone, welcome today to our, we get to cover a whole week's worth of action because unfortunately real life got in the way and we were unable to tape our show for last week. And we have a lot to talk about. But before we get to any of that, we have to jump into something that happened actually this past Thursday, and it's pretty huge. Earlier this season, we had Dare Rising come in and sponsor Deja Vu, and that was huge. It's positive. It's good. They bring in sponsors. They bring in their own self-generated audience. It gets tanks out there more. It gets WGLNA out there more, and that's awesome. But what happened on Thursday is a team that used to sponsor a tank team here has come back, which is, I think, even more impressive because it means there must have been some sort of growth to interest them, and that team is Elevate. Now, Elevate has been around for a good chunk of time. They, let's see, I just had their information up, and I put it over there, so just give me a sec. Elevate's one of those teams that's always at the top of different esports. I know they had a really competitive CSGO team. They've been founded in 2012. They're based out here in North America, esports organization. Some of the best teams in the world. They specialize in team management and player skill progression with a desire to excel at any game they compete in. That's very true. Full disclosure real quick. Last iteration of Elevate, I worked as their social media manager, and after that team closed, I said goodbye to Elevate on good terms. But I just want to put that out there. So I do have a relationship with Elevate. But more importantly than that, this team is really good. In my personal experience there, they're respectful of everyone at all levels. And I think that's really important, especially when you get into any team event or team organization, that if you're not respectful of everybody, it's just going to fall apart. And we've seen that at other teams in the past. What do you say, Tim?
And I want to ask you this question, though. With Elevate being back together, how likely, in your opinion, is it, do you think they're going to try to recruit some of the original Elevate team back?
I don't think they're going to do that anymore. They're a whole different organization. This is Apex has become Elevate. It's just a sponsor change. The same way that Noble a few seasons ago were with one team and then they jumped to another, and Rival was one team and then they jumped over to Simple Tankers. Right. So there's been moves like this in the past. It's a different iteration of the team. That's the best way to put it. But who else would you pick if you're coming in and you're an esports team such as Elevate? You pick the best team in the league,
which at the which at the moment was Apex. And a season ago, you might have said it was Eclipse, or now you might even say it's top tier or Dare, or any one of the teams. It's kind of hard to say.
There's no doubt that it's this is Elevate's year, Apex previously. And it was interesting because Comps talked about it a bit before the start of the events on Thursday, as he said that they were very interested in getting all 10 team members out because other esports teams will only send the minimum necessary. But the way World of Tanks works, the way that WGLNA works, if you don't have your tactics guy there, if you don't have your team leader there, and they're not always the guys that play. I point to Tigers as a great reference. He's since come back to play regularly, but he sat on the bench for a good chunk of time so he could run that side of it, and he could play that side of it. Comps being another great example, exactly in this case. By pulling the full team there, you get 100% of what that team can give. And for Elevate to have that level of commitment, according to from what Comps mentioned, is encouraging and important, I think. But now we have to jump back in time to before they were Elevate and Apex. And just for ease of us, Tim and I, because we're lazy, we're going to stick with calling them Elevate. Well, it's ease of use. So we'll phrase it that way and call it that. But what's important about what happened on this past Tuesday? So last week, Tuesday, which would be Tuesday, February 28th, is we had Elevate taking on Top Tier. And everyone thought Top Tier would come out and be very good and very challenging to them. The first thing that may not have surprised me is the maps that were banned were Steps, Proc, Cliff, and Mines.
Yeah.
Okay, Mines is a good one because they're 100% on Mines. Let's be honest, that's a really good one.
Yeah.
to
Everybody knows.
to ban.
You don't play mines. Elevate. Nope. So much. Nope.
On the other hand, yeah, pretty much. On the other hand, if you look what Elevate banned, they banned Cliff, which is you don't play top tier
Right.
on Cliff, it ends badly for you. So it just does, and they're not gonna play them on a team's best map, especially a team that is, in my opinion, as dangerous as top tier. But then what they didn't ban was Ghost Town.
I noticed that straight off the bat, and
I do too.
wonder why. Did they think that Proc was more important, or?
I think it's a combination. I mean, there's different theories running around there, but I'll stick to what we can see in front of us. I think Ghost Town gives them a look directly of what it's like to play against them, so potentially in the future. Or I could also see them possibly confident enough to try their their Ghost Town strat against them, just to see what works and what doesn't. Because these are two teams that they're very likely to be playing each other in the finals once we get there, if top tier can get there. But it was after that. It was essentially a 5-1, a 5-0 stomp for Elevate. I think that may have been more due to the fact that top tier was focused on learning information, not that they weren't playing their hardest, but this may have been more of information seeking. But we'll see. And it's also Elevate. They've done this to everybody in the league, and there's a reason for it. Now, the other match that we had last Tuesday, that was some people say, how important was Dare versus Aquatic M60s?
It was pretty important.
It was important because this would give Dare a pretty good lock, especially with top tier losing, on at least third place. Okay, that's a good thing for them. They get at least third place. How else the season plays out, we still have yet to know, and we'll talk more about Thursday in a minute. So with Dare versus Aquatic M60s, there's a lot on the line, a lot of math. We'll get into that in a minute. But with Dare really wanting to win, they've been struggling as of late, not playing as consistently as they had earlier in the season. And whether that be the pressures of being a sponsor team or just the fact that the skill level and the margins between each team is getting smaller and smaller as we go deeper and deeper into the season because teams know each other better. I mean, it's a logical progression. And what we saw here is we saw Aquatic and Dare exchange wins, not just for the first match, not for the second match, but third match. We were tied 3-3. And we saw some interesting play from, with the new meta as far as see what tanks you're seeing and what tanks you aren't seeing. In Muravanka, we saw Dare with 5 bat chats, a mouse, and an M4043. And they went down against M60s in that one. This was with Dare on the attack. And they had a Sturb, RU251, 3 bat chats, a mouse, and IS7. So if you're interested in meta, this is the time to check it out and see how it all plays out. But what happened was Ghost Town. And Ghost Town was all Dare.
Wow.
It was impressive to watch because you saw mouses on mouse action. You saw 5 mouses in match 7, 5 mouses for Dare, which is impressive. 4 mouses for Aquatic M60s, and Type 5 was there on the side of Dare. People are beginning to see that if you don't need to get direct damage, the splash damage if you're firing that massive Type 5, and a lot of people are saying that's taking away from people playing the 183, the British heavy, tier 10. No, it's not heavy. Sorry, TD at the tier 10. But the most impressive thing in this battle was Battle 8. There was an exchange of fire, everything, and it went down to Feel My Potato and a mouse against My Little Putin and a bat chat. And it showed that mobility and speed still play a part of this. Wouldn't you say, Tim?
Yeah, and just looking at the points in that match. Oh my word! My Little Putin getting 170.8 points with almost 5,000 damage. Wow.
Now, he got the full 100. The most he can get as far as reset points is 100. Now, he got 100 for that by itself. Plus the damage he did added more points to it. So, great play by My Little Putin. Another demonstration of why he is so good and why he is such a solid player. But that led to the 5-3 victory and put Dare into a very positive place going forward, where they're looking at possibly if they could beat somehow managed to defeat Elevate on Thursday, they could jump all and secure second place for certain. A win versus Elevate would just pretty much lock it into place for all intents and purposes. Make it nigh impossible for Eclipse or Top Tier to catch up to them. But the first match of Thursday was that very match, Elevate versus Dare Rising. And think about it. You just had a big announcement made. Your mind might not necessarily be so focused because you've got such a massive lead. There might be just one or two mistakes made, and how it goes for Elevate. No. They continue to do what they do. It's their dominant team right now in WGLNA. The way they play is so tight, so consistent, yet flexible. They disassembled Dare for the first 3 matches, and then the one match that they did lose. And congratulations to Dare for getting one match against him. Might have been just an experimental to see how different tactics worked, and it didn't work out for them. That's fine. This team didn't slow down. Yeah, and they got Ghost Town again, and that's another thing. Is 2 of their best maps are Mines and Ghost Town. Why are people letting them play it? It's just, to me, I think it doesn't make sense to me, and there may be a perfectly sound explanation on this that I just don't know. Very possible.
Looking at what Dare banned Cliff, Himmelsdorf. I can understand Himmelsdorf, but Cliff.
More matches have been taken off Himmelsdorf than I think than Mines, but because I think this is the first time that we've seen Elevate go down or drop a match on Mines.
True.
So that would be one I would think about avoiding. And the same goes. I mean, Ghost Town are 80 some odd % on a win. That's not good. That's not good for you at all. But that being said, that made the race for second now be entirely in Elevate's hands. And we moved on to the next match, which was Valence, saying, more than likely goodbye to the league. They do get a chance to play a Silver League team for it, which is good. They played us off against the Aquaticamp 60s. They lost 5-2. They tried some different strats. They're not quite meme strats, guys. I know some people were saying they played too memey. They were just playing to have fun. They're trying to understand things, and just so much respect to them. I got to just drop down and tell them in TeamSpeak afterwards that just how much I appreciated everything they've done for the season. They're disappointed. Of course they'd be disappointed because that team's so packed with talent. They just need to find a way to keep the core together, keep working on it, and just see what they can do to improve for next year because they'd have to play a pretty tough team to knock them out, I think, in my opinion.
They're gonna play. They're gonna play the Silver League. They're likely gonna win. I don't know what the Silver League prospects are looking right now. Rockstar would be the perfect person to talk to about that. But regardless, Valence played a little bit of weight. They showed that they have a chance. Some roster changes probably, and we'll see what they do next season. But
yeah, and be sure to tune in, guys, because they're a really good team. Tons of respect for them. But now we get to play one of Tim's favorite game, and that's Where's Ute in the standings right now. Tim, where's Ute right now?
I'll tell you where I am first. 126. I haven't moved. It's. Bleh.
How do you really feel, Tim?
But you passed me up. He's now 5 spots ahead of me. I was ahead of you, just ahead of you for a day.
Yep.
Or 2. And now he's ahead of me. Oh well.
Or being.
Well, it's all down to the line on this last match day. We'll see what's going on here.
We will, and Tim's not that far off of him. He's currently sitting on 38,830.5 points, where Tim, on the other hand, is on 761. So Tim's just barely, 20 points behind him, which is good. I'm about 810 points behind him, which has meant, I made a couple errors in my choices early or forgot to pick. Also an error as far as getting all that stuff done.
I had a whole lot of respect for you and his knowledge of WGLNA. But this dude came back and passed everybody up after having a 5-player night.
Yep.
Imagine if he was
He's very good at
imagine if he
fantasy.
was 600 points ahead of where he is now. He's at 3,800, 830.5. Put him at 39,000, over 39,000. 39,500, let's say. And
That put him in the top 100, roughly around 78th or 77th place.
wow.
That's almost 50 spots from where he is right now. But he's a great player, guys. If he ever puts up his rosters, make sure you look at him. Seriously, consider copying it.
I consider
generally
I
pretty
seriously
good.
consider copying it. I'll admit.
Yeah, and that being said, we're moving into our next set of matches, which is coming up. The future matches, which come up this Tuesday, where we have rival versus top tier, and rival's automatically getting regulated. It's going down. It doesn't play any teams. It's just going down, which is sad. But we might see the retooling of this team, epic team in the history of WGLNA. They're facing off against top tier, who are on the other hand are going the opposite direction. If they win tonight and other things happen, there's a good chance they could end up jumping all the way up to third place, which would be great for them. But when you look at all the teams and we look at the situations, this should be top tier winning 5-1, Tim?
Yeah, 5-1. Rivals got enough punch in them left still, I think, to give them a run for the money on that one match. But
even if they meme strat, both sides meme strat, it's probably going to most of them be as 5-2.
All mouse is at a 1390. I don't care.
That's almost a functional attempt right there. But
I'll
the
tell
interesting
Jason.
match, yeah. The match that we should really keep an eye on is 07 versus Eclipse.
Everybody,
I know you're setting up going 07.
All my people are going in this match. Everyone.
Okay. Well, that's understandable. Looking at the teams here, now we could have Eclipse roll them over, but we have to look at what's happened recently and how teams have played recently. And when we do so, you look at an Eclipse. They did beat Valence 5-1, and they needed that win because they'd been struggling a bit. Before that, they barely beat Dare 5-4. And if you go back and watch that match, there was some RNG at play there. Before that, they lost to top tier 5-3. Before that match, Eclipse, they beat Aquatic M60s 5-3 that Saturday. That was the last match day that had Vetero play for them.
Yeah.
Vetero is now playing for Elevate. Now they brought in Ledef from 07, which is he's a good player, but it takes a while for teams to link in and to everyone to get back on their feet. And so there's that you have to think about that could be going on as well. 07 it can determine who they play in a way by winning this. If they win, they'll probably end up facing top tier because top tier is a tiebreaker. If they lose, they're probably going to play Dare. So in a way, they control their fate. Plus, taking down a major team before playoffs or hurting a major team, that sets a bar pretty high for you. And you can look at it and say, this team means business, and they're going for it. And they're taking advantage of their opportunities.
It's important to note the last time Eclipse played 07 was on the 31st, and they got stomped. 5-0.
That is very true. If we're looking at history, we also have to look at last season's history. Where going into the semifinals, I believe someone was willing to give me 5-1 odds of 07 beating Aquatic M60s. And we had both Brent and Tim. Brent, a.k.a. Starshield, was lucky enough to do some of the commentary. I was down for TwitchCon at this time of the season last season, and I was the only one that picked 07 to beat Aquatic. Now, that may have been more with this than with this, I'll be honest. But the thing about 07 is they went down 4-0 before they climbed out of their hole, if I'm remembering this correctly.
I remember
this
match.
That's impressive.
I remember that very distinctly. Me and Brent and Ute. Me and Starshield and Ute, and everybody else in the esports lounge, like, did you just see that?
And the thing about 07 is you put them in a corner and they fight. They fight hard. They're a smart team. Sometimes they play best when they're under desperation. If any team can pull us upset at this point of the season with the stakes as high as they are right now, 07's not a bad bet. 07's a pretty good bet. They've taken their own hits. They lost Ledef, probably the best player on their team, or considered one of the best players on the team. And they brought in Anfield. Not Anfield. Arklit, a veteran of School Bus from EU, a veteran of the previous incarnation of Elevate, and of HWC. So he's seen teams, and whether or not he can help out 07 make it to the finals, we're gonna have to see. But a win here, and this is where it's gonna think of it this way: if top tier wins versus rival, and they should,
Right.
that puts them at 25 points. And Tim, you might want to put up the standings right now and have folks follow along. Tim and I were talking about this earlier, and we both got confused. I got confused twice, but it's easy to get confused.
He's
right
the
now.
one with the notes.
Is- yes, I am. They're over here. But if we start at first place, that's elevate. There's no one
Right.
touching that. Currently in second
No,
place
there's no way anybody's
uh,
touching that. No. Now
yeah,
with a 9'9"
is at
pole.
26 points. Yeah. Currently at 26 points right now is Dare Rising. Eclipse stands on 25 points. Okay. And then at 22 points as of right now is top tier. Top tier wins against rival. They're now on 25 points and tied
Right.
with Eclipse. Okay. Now, if there's anything happens as far as if 07 wins, be it in overtime or be it in the normal way, it forces Elevate to only get 1 point. That makes what happens then is Dare gets the automatic bye in second place. Okay. Then it gets
Because
even more
because
interesting.
they have
Top
more
tier,
wins.
yep. Top tier with the tiebreaker then becomes the third place team, and they would play 07 in the playoffs. And Eclipse would then drop all the way down to the fourth place spot, and they'd end up placing fifth place Aquatic M60s.
Wow.
So that's now if it goes the other way, if Eclipse wins, that would move Dare down. Top tier would be that would move. So they get 27 points. Anyway, think about it. They get 27 points. They're suddenly Eclipse gets the automatic bye to the finals.
Still would love.
And then, and then Dare would face off against 07, and Aquatic would take on top tier. Those matches, the playoff matches, are coming this coming Thursday. Tim and I will have a show out sometime on Wednesday, hopefully, to discuss what happened on Tuesday night and also the permutations of what it means to win and what that means in placement. Because with 07 defeating last season, they took down Aquatic M60s. That put them in a position that they faced Eclipse first rather than last season's Apex. And then with Deja Vu at the time, now Dare Rising, they beat Simple Tankers last season, so they went on to face Apex, now Elevate. I know this gets confusing. And we end up that way. Another thing of note is with all these things going on right now, check out either the Community WGLNA Twitter site or WGLNA Twitter site Basic, because they'll be able to fill you in on what's going on. That's going to make things important. Now, all that said, Tim, who are you picking and why for the matches this Tuesday?
I believe I said I was going all in on the Eclipse versus 07 match.
Yep.
07's got enough punch to break this. I want to say a 5-2 or a 5-3. This is gonna be interesting. I'm gonna definitely pick up Letef. Final finish. No Nick. And T1. I might swipe out one of these for Tigers, depending on the lineup they release on Monday. But then I'm going over to 07 Gaming. I'm picking Makos, Andepans, and I'm not picking Warbander, but I'm picking Vasta instead.
Okay.
I might swap out one of those. One of the important things to notice: why did I switch around with Warbander? Warbander is currently picked by 20% of the rosters. Yeah, if you want to jump, you gotta pick somebody nobody else picks.
Well, someone Tim didn't mention. First up, I'm going to go with Aghaku from top tier. I think he's a good point maker. He'll get me at least 250 points, if not more, which is not a bad baseline for in the league right now. Now, when it comes to people forget when you look at the stats, the way things are set up for the fantasy league. Something I highly recommend is if you go to the tabs where it says action, name, battles, click on average points, because what it's set now, it's set on your points total. So you click on average points and watch how this changes,
Yep.
Tim. So click on average points, and suddenly a name pops up in second place that people overlook all the time, and that's Drawcap or Drock. So I would, Tim, if you want someone who's only picked 1.16% of the time,
Yeah.
Drock is it. I'm picking Drock, Nonik, and Ledef right now
I will
from
tell
this.
you right away, though, if 07's playing Rax, I'm picking him.
Rocks, yeah, that's a good pick too. Oh, I'm gonna move over there. So that's 4 picks for me currently, and Photo Finish would probably be another one if I have any doubt because he's always been fairly consistent. On the 07 side, if you guys go and do the same thing, go to average points and click on that versus overall points. Rocks is incredibly high. That's what Tim was bringing that up. The problem is Rocks gets rotated in and out. That's not because he wasn't able to show up early or there's a need for a player now like Drock has won back his position 100%. I mean, you've seen how well he's played lately, Tim. I mean, he's one of the reasons that they're in this
Right.
race for second place, I would argue. But Rocks would be good. I'm definitely going to pick up Makos and Kamador. Be careful of Swipple, another rotate in and out player. So that would right there gives me 6 players left because I picked Okaku, 3 from over on the side of Eclipse, and then 2 from here. So I still have 1 left that I'm figuring out right now. Another thing to keep in mind is look at the maps. If it becomes available on public notice, look at who plays what and who's going to be playing. You want people with either autoloaders or in mouses these days. So and since most teams are in mouses, mouses.
But how are we going to? Yeah.
The plural of mouse.
I'll leave
We'll
it up
just call
to
it that way.
Sophie to give me the proper.
Yes, Sophie Lynn. Yes.
Sophie,
we'll trust her.
Give me the proper pronunciation of the plural of mouse, and I will say it that way.
And it's not mouse.
And shush you. Shush
until
you.
he forgets.
I'll say it that way for the entirety of next season.
If you do, well, and what makes it even more complex is there's a tier 9 tank called Maushin out there, which makes it even more confusing. But all that being said, you're going to see a lot of mouses. If you see a lot of Himmels, Ghost Town, things like that, look for players that play the mouse. How do you find that? Well, we probably should have walked you through this earlier in the season, but we'll do it now. Go to schedule, and then go to past matches, and we'll use Thursday as an example. You click on Elevate to play Dare Rising, and you go down and you look at who played what tank. Vetro played an IS-4 in the first match. External played a mouse. Ox Mathis played a mouse. So God Emperor Brett was in the Tier 9 Waffle. So there's a lot of different – that'll give you the information you need to make your decisions. So and make sure you go through all of them because sometimes Milo Putin was in a bad chat. Sometimes he was in a mouse. So just make sure you have a grasp when you're doing this. Now, there's some people out here who are going to spreadsheet it out and have it all the details broken down to the smallest amount. And normally I love to be that guy. But I've had other challenges and things working on this season. And one of the things that I want to bring up that I'm noticing is accuracy. There's certain players that have an absurd accuracy when it comes to making shots out right now. A good example is, and I had to collect this information by going to the WGLNA Twitter page because they put up shots and accuracy. It's not a stat you normally find here in the fantasy. And a guy who's, to me, incredibly accurate in a way that is almost overwhelming is with an 89.4% accuracy is Aggressor.
Big surprise. Not?
Yeah, well, I don't know if that's first. That's why I'm going to be going through all these stats week by week. And if you want to do it yourself, feel free to.
Have fun.
Oh, I love this stuff.
I like doing
knowledge,
data
guys.
analysis. I don't like doing all this sorting. I do it.
Data collection?
I don't like data collection. I do enough of that at work.
I find it fascinating. It's fun for me. So, but I'll start doing that. So when we have our, make sure you tune in on Wednesday because we'll be going over that, and I should have a lot of those core results of what the early data collection I've had. What this is, why do you bother? Well, last season I was fortunate enough to be called and to cast or to be part of the analyst team, and it struck me the amount of heavy tanks out there that. And who played them better and best came in really handy. And that bore off the season before when Negatron asked me to do mathematical exposition on how much damage is done on Himmelsdorf on average.
I remember that.
And I did. Do you remember that? Yeah. I I'm not the best math guy, but I can slog my way through it. I can get to it eventually. Those of you who are math whizzes could probably get into it 5 times faster, but I do get to the correct result at the end. And what we found is if you want to make the most amount of points in fantasy, you wanted a heavy specific map like Himmelsdorf. Since the mouse or the 17.1 update, we're seeing mouses on Muravanka. So it kind of throws things, but I'm also going to be doing some analysis on that too.
They're
Because
spaghetti against the wall. We saw this with the Swedish tanks, with the
Yeah,
stirve, and you're seeing the pancake takes everywhere around, upside down, literally.
well, did you see Unity play today against I forget the team, start with an S, but they did some really interesting moves. They pretty much like orbited their mouse. So they used the mouse as kind of their base station and orbited around it.
Oh,
It's almost like a hockey style of play and
Yeah.
everything. And the funny thing is the casters didn't catch on it. I was just staring at the mini map. And another thing I do is I watch a lot of replays because guys, this is my sport, my esport. I love watching this and I love getting into the details of it. But you'll see all sorts of different strats coming up at the grand finals. And I'm actually curious. I think you'll at these upcoming finals, I think you'll also see some fascinating strats that we have not seen before, and teams playing maps that they have not played a lot of, because with the change in meta, you want to bring something out of your basket because during the season these teams do scrim each other,
They do.
even when they're not playing. So it's going to be a fascinating time. We'll have more information hopefully for you. I just need to clear it with you on when and where the finals are going to be, about what's happening and everything, and make sure you tune in here. Right now, one thing we can definitely say is it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be an exciting time.
Yes, fun.
And there's even an off chance Tim and I will get to take a picture together, which will be cool.
That's the first
But,
time we meet each other
hopefully.
physically. That's
Yeah. Yep.
I've met almost everybody else but you.
And we promise folks the universe won't end. So
Like Tim and Ted, same picture. No.
no, it'll be fun. It'll be a good time. Once it's announced, if you can, come to it. I've been to 4 finals now, 4 WGLNA finals, and they've never disappointed in being a fun time if you're a Tanks fan. They give you an opportunity to meet the players. Not all the time. Some come out, some are much more sociable, some want to stay maintained and be focused and stuff. But the odds are that you'll have a chance to meet some of the players, which is always fun. But that information should be coming soon,
Yes.
hopefully. If not this week, probably immediately after the semifinals would be a guess, a supposition on my part. But I'm excited. I think this is going to be this last week of the season is going to hold a surprise. What that surprise is, I don't know yet. But we already had one last
Oh
week.
man,
with Elevate.
that was a surprise. I
Come-
didn't expect that.
And
Definitely didn't expect that.
And I like the fact Elevate's coming in and showing that the WGLNA has demonstrated enough growth for them since it passed 2 years ago when they were last really involved. And because they've shown that growth, that's a positive. And I'm hoping other organizations, other esports teams come in and sponsor guys out
Right.
there, because that would be good for the teams and good for it. Because there are other teams out there that are very solid teams. We do have Eclipse. I'll say that out loud. Eclipse would probably a good team to good organization backing them up can only help. You also have Aquatic M60s. It's very good there. And I bet you money Foster will make moves over the break. And I don't think 07's going anywhere. I think 07's continuing to find a way, because they've had other iterations of themselves. Never gone away, but they were Fear once, and then they shifted over to 07. And they've been consistent. And they've been in the league 4 seasons in a row now.
Yep.
5 seasons, Tim.
Been a long time.
Something like that.
Do you
But
you
that
remember
consistency.
the original nemesis of Elevate? The last couple seasons Elevate did.
Nemesis of them, rival.
No, besides Rival.
Would have been HWC probably. Or do you mean somebody else I'm missing?
Nope. I'm just saying. My point is, a lot of those players are elsewhere now.
They are, or they've retired, because we had this season alone. We've seen Optimus Prime decide it's time to hang up his boot. Crimson Corsair is no longer playing. One of the best scouts I've ever seen play the game. No more Blue Boys captain. And last year's MVP of the finals, Akula, say it's time to say goodnight. And those guys all are terrifyingly good players. And I don't mean just in WGLNA. If you run into Akula in game, good luck. Same with the Blue Boys captain. And someone asked me the other day, do you have to be a great pub player to be on a team? And my argument is not always, because you can be a fantastic team player and not be the best statistical player. And I'll point specifically to someone I know Tim knows, Spanish.
Yes.
Spanish was on Elevate Red the season that Elevate won the finals. There were two Elevate teams then. Then they became Rival. And then Rival switched to, when that team folded, Rival went over to Simple Tankers. But Spanish was always, he's a Silver League player. He's good. And he's an addition that's a force multiplier on this team, even though his stats may not demonstrate that. So if you want to try to get a team together for Silver League, you need to try to figure out the parts. And I would encourage you to try to be competitive. Find a way to play a couple strongholds, 7-on-7. Find people you enjoy playing with. Don't play with people you don't want to be with, because that's not going to end well. No matter how skilled they are, it's better to have someone who makes it fun, because as you get higher into the Silver League, you're going to lose in the beginning. And you have to be able to enjoy it and have a good time as you figure out strats and how to win and everything, because people forget all these teams from Rival in 8th place all the way up to Elevate in 1st place. These guys are all very incredibly talented.
Extremely so.
If you ever, I was playing with Meadowhawk last night. He's terrifyingly good.
Yeah,
and he's on the bench more often than not. That's the thing that makes it really scary. And I've been lucky enough to play with No Name and No Name Nick, No Nick, No Name, No Skill, I should say. I've played with other guys like that are out there. Akula. And for Akula, it was just kind of like, hold my beer. I'm going to kill everyone. Okay, shoot him over here, Ted. So,
hold my beer. Watch
I'm
this.
not
Oh, I believe you. I've played with Akula.
Yeah, their skill level is incredible. So if you have time this Tuesday night at 5:30 Pacific time, tune in and watch. Because even in watching a team, you're like, well, we're going to lose 5-1 or 5-2. Watch the individual matches. Watch
fantastic. It's going to be good gameplay. It's going to be tanks. As our friend Fierce Bombshell said, there's tanks blowing each other up. What more do you want?
Yes. And also look at some of their positionings and just take that in and feed that into your own tank skill. There's always, you're seeing more tanks push their backs or TDs push their back all the way onto one line on Proc now, because it's got enough elevation to shoot over that little hump around the mid-range thing. And we saw that because Pampa started doing it, and it probably bled to clans, and it probably let the high-level clans, and then it bled down to the lower clans. Now you see it in pub matches.
You saw
also
boosting
seeing
start last season.
Yep.
Now everybody's doing it, including. I mean, I was in a match just the other day with Indignant Beaver, and I look on the mini map, and he's all the way off in the corner. Like, what in the world, dude? How did you get up there?
Yeah, I was in a match where I was driving the very, very slow VK 100.01p, and it was a Tier 9 match, and 3 of the Tier 9 bat chats got into that bowl on steps.
Boy.
On the 1-2 line, not the far one that you see, but there's a little bowl, and three of them got there, and they're having moving because 3 is a lot. The only people that were happier than them getting up there in the game was our 3 Artie. Because I'm not kidding you, this bowl was maybe 20 meters across, and then you put 3 tanks in there. And no matter how nimble they are, the first shot was by a 43. Is that Tier 9 or Tier 10? The Tier 9 American Artie dropped in there and tracked all of them. They repaired. The next round that came in was the Tier 8 British artillery. Tracked all of them again, and then they were perma-tracked after that because they just kept dropping their rounds on them, and they killed 3 of them. It was amazing to suddenly watch 3 bat chats disappear off the enemy's screen, so that was very nice. So understand that even as people come up with, oh, look, he's boosting here, that's awesome. Other people are like, well, they're boosting there, let me drop an artillery shell on them. I mean, it's a fascinating rock, paper, scissors that is World of Tanks, either pub or the WGLNA, because Tim mentioned earlier, teams are throwing spaghetti against the wall, or trying to find that rock that works against other teams' scissors, because they were just playing paper, and they want to find a balance so that if they do A, we'll do B, but if they do C, we can do D. So it's a very living, organic thing to call, and that's why we always appreciate callers on the amazing job they do. But I'll get off my soapbox now. But tune in. Make sure you tune in on Tuesday. If you miss Tuesday, you can go to the YouTube site to rewatch Tuesday, or go to the WGL_EN. Also has the replays there, and you can't miss the playoffs. The playoffs are always intense, always amazing, because not only are these teams playing for a trip to the finals, they're also playing where they get paid is based on their placement.
This is
So
surprising. We're talking not sponsored pay.
Oh no, this is true. This is if they end up getting a higher position, they're going to get more funds. How much I don't know, but $1 more is $1 more. Let's be honest here. So let's just looking at how everything sets up at the end, especially if you don't want to have to requalify in 6th place. There's a lot at stake in these playoffs coming up. And Tim, are you getting excited? Because I know I am.
Oh man, I can't wait. I'm like a kid who's looking forward to his birthday. Say my
Kid in the candy store. Yep. But folks, we want to thank you for being here. We will be back for one more of our normal shows where we'll wrap up Tuesday and we'll talk about the previews, and we'll also talk about what we may or may not be doing for the finals. We're not 100% sure yet. We're going to have to see some things shake out. But till then, I'll let Tim wrap us up, and thank you guys. If we didn't have you guys here, we wouldn't have a community. We wouldn't have a show. So, Tim, can you wrap us up for us?
Short, simple, and sweet. Thanks for stopping by.